Now, more stories, insights, and analysis of Illinois policy and politics. This is Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Policy Institute. Once again, your host, AM 560's Dan Proft.
Dan Proft back with Austin Berg. He is a writer for the Illinois Policy Institute and a columnist for the Illinois News Network. You can catch me Monday to Friday on AM 560, Chicago's Morning Answer, 5 to 9 a.m. with Amy Jacobson. And Austin, July turned out to be the deadliest month in Chicago in terms of violent crime in more than a decade. And compounding that in terms of city safety is city tax burden. We've already had two major property tax increases in the last year under the direction of Tiny Dancer. And now, to be fair, to be considerate, this is how he presented it, to be, equanimous, if you will. You went to Tufts University, you know these words. He is...
that's something to do with horses, right?
That's right. That's exactly, yes. He is imposing, or wants to impose, a utility tax, water sewer tax, 7% this coming fiscal year, and then 7%, 7%, 7% the next 3 years. The media is reporting this as a 28% increase in the water sewer tax because they don't understand the magic of compound interest. So it'll be 7% on top of the 7% increase and so on and so forth. So it's really probably in the neighborhood of 50 or 60% over 4 years. Mm-hmm. So this is, by the way, what's the money for? This is to shore up another unfunded municipal pension fund that is unfinanceable in its current form and will not be made financeable by this tax.
So the context is always key in these discussions, so you're totally right. First of all, it's going up 7% every year. None of that money is going to, for instance, the huge problem the city is having now with lead in the water at public schools. Over 100 schools have seen lead in the water, and we're going to increase every family's bill about $200 over the next 4 years. None of that money is going to fix this lead problem. So first of all. Second of all, news just came out today on city payroll data. And of course, the media always reports this type of tax hike as this is a grand bargain. It's shared sacrifice. Rahm's given us the tough medicine we need to get things back on track.
Oh, sure.
And so you get frustrated when you hear this tax hike, hear news of these endless tax hikes in Chicago, and then you get existentially depressed because reporters report on it as if it's a solution to anything.
Where's the other half? If it's a grand bargain, what's our side of the bargain?
So here's the amazing bargain that Rahm was able to deal. Yeah. Since 2013, the number of city employees making over six figures has doubled. It went from 2,500 to 5,000 in 3 years.
Okay.
And in return, we get to pay hundreds more dollars on our water sewer bills.
Right.
We get to pay thousands more dollars in our property tax bills, and our kids get to drink lead.
So, am I wrong to not see what's in it for me in that grand bargain as just another Chicago denizen, another Chicago property taxpayer? I'm excited by all the people making money whose salaries I pay, and probably less excited about kids and CPS drinking lead-induced or lead-infused water. But what's the benefit again?
So, yeah, I think you're just being politically biased, Dan.
Right, yes,
you need
of
to see
course.
the full picture.
Yeah,
so
I understand.
The other great thing that happens when reporters report on this
He didn't want to raise property taxes again. That's the heroism.
No, yeah, exactly. And he didn't want to be piling on, quote unquote.
No.
So piling on, there's this whole terrible debate. This is another problem with the media's reporting of this story is when the property tax hikes came, it was, well, the suburbs pay more in property taxes. You guys are lucky to be paying rates that are so low. First of all, the rates in the suburbs are among the highest in the nation, so that's a ridiculous comparison.
Yeah.
Second of all, if you take all the nickel and diming that Chicago does with red light camera fees, with licensing fees, with rental car taxes, with
cloud
parking
taxes.
garage taxes, tax the cloud, tax the air, increase the water tax, Chicagoans pay the highest combined tax and fee burden of any city in Illinois. Now, you also see when people are reporting on this that this is a grand bargain, that we're putting these pension funds on the road to fiscal solvency. Everybody's going to get paid. We're sharing the sacrifice. The way that they are reporting this as if it's a realistic assumption. The number is we're going to get this fund, the biggest city pension fund, 90% funded, not even 100% funded, over the next 40 years.
Because the unfunded liability is $19 billion, and this is supposed to generate $250 million.
Right.
So, do some back of the envelope math, and you realize just how insufficient this is. And of course, there is no grand bargain because there's nothing on the restructuring side for taxpayers.
Exactly. And they're not even stopping the bleeding by giving defined contribution plans like we were talking about with the lawmakers in Oklahoma. So, and also, speaking of this six-figure pay, Rahm should leave his $200,000 job as mayor and go play blackjack in Rosemont because he's doing investment returns for the next 40 years. This guy's going to be the greatest stock picker in world history if he thinks he knows what investment rate returns for the next till 2056 are for pension funds.
This is what's great. This is my favorite characterization of my favorite play by the political class in Illinois, where they're always talking about half a century down the road. And so here's the problem. If you've got a math problem in the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois, if you've got like a $19 billion unfunded liability, it's like the old economist joke about an economist comes to a ravine, needs to get to the other side. Well, you just assume a bridge. So it's the same thing here. Just assume a rate of return that gets you from where you are now to actuarial solvency.
7%, 8%, doesn't matter.
It's no problem. So you just change the assumptions, no matter how unrealistic those assumptions are, and we're on the path of fiscal solvency, and you sell it to a lapdog Chicago press corps. You tidy it up and you move on.
Not only are the assumptions ridiculous, but the assumptions are ridiculous in order to pay for ridiculous pension promises that we're on the hook for no matter what, according to the Illinois Supreme Court. So again, and this isn't a property tax hike in the sense that only affects, that is a really broad tax hike, but this is about as broad as you can get. I mean, if you're a family on the south and west side, 5 people to a room, you're probably using the same amount of water as a family, a 5-bedroom house where Rahm lives up in Ravenswood or whatever.
Right. It turns out to be a regressive tax.
Exactly. And you talk to people in those neighborhoods, Gary and East Chicago are by no means paradises, but I'll go down to those neighborhoods and talk to people there, and they'll say, my aunt moved there, my uncle moved there, my dad moved there, because it's not as bad as Chicago, and you're not dealing with hundreds of dollar increases in your property tax bill and in your water sewer tax bill. People move because of that, and it's hollowing out. You see that in Chicago's only population growth being people who wear collared shirts in the Loop. Nobody is coming to the south or west side, and there's tons of problems, but this has something to do with it.